Hi, welcome to Tanakh Talks About the Power Rangers role-playing game. Today we are excited because it is the last day of February and we were promised that the Errata should be out today. Also, there's usually a monster of the week, so we'll be able to build our threat repertoire as well. From participating in the Power Rangers Discord, I have a couple of things on my mind that I'm a little worried about. For one, I heard that the Errata is more of an FAQ. Now, some of you might be wondering, well, FAQ Errata, what's the difference? Well, there is. An FAQ, besides obviously meaning frequently asked questions, is basically what a company puts out when the answer is in the source material, but it is hard to find. So these are not situations where something is written incorrectly or something wasn't said. It's that it's hard information to find in the book and link them all together. So an FAQ should be able to answer things like martial arts damage as we understand it, and the fact that you can only take one skill from your origin instead of every skill that it lists in underneath your choice, stuff like that. An errata is an admission that something in the book is wrong and doesn't read as intended. A misprint, a typo, a carryover from something else, using the wrong term, something like that. So what we have been screaming about in the Power Rangers Discord are all of the places where things aren't clear. So that's FAQ. And all of the things that we believe are just flat out wrong, and that's errata. So what I'm hoping is that Renegade Games has a healthy amount of both. There are a fair number of things that only really need like minor corrections, like a head nod, this is where you find this in the book section. But there are some specific things I am hoping are in the errata, and I'll list a couple of those things for you. And here's what I'm hoping, right? All of us, the number one thing that we want from the Power Rangers Discord, the number one thing that we want is some kind of reworking of Zords. And I have a bad feeling, guys. And let me tell you why. It's not that the Zords in the book aren't able to be recreated using the rules. That has been explained away as the Zords in the book being a higher level than level 1. I don't like that, but it is what it is. We found out very early that Power Rangers on the ground do more damage more accurately to full-grown monsters than Zords do. And because of that, the Zord scene is kind of dead. I mean, it's fun to come up with them, but they are completely useless. They take too long to get there, and you do less damage overall. The reason why I have a bad feeling about this is because there has been a developer in the Power Rangers Discord lately. Well, actually, I don't know if he's a developer, but he is a representative at least. And he is in there answering our questions whenever he has time. And the Zord issue came up at least once. The thing I don't like, though, is he tends to be there earlier in the morning, and during that time, none of us are available to ask questions. So the people who would really grill them on the system and what they do are never around when this guy is in. But I can't blame him for that. You know, all of us have lives, so we can't necessarily watch the Power Rangers Discord at all times, especially when he chooses to come on, which I think is closer to the morning than it is in the afternoon. But anyway, someone asked about Zords, and they're like, why would we ever summon Zords when Power Rangers are better? And he said, oh, well, in the future, we're going to be releasing monsters that have multiple attacks and do 3 damage and stuff like that, and you definitely don't want to be on the ground when these monsters attack. You're going to want to be in the Zord because Zords are more durable. And I'm like, what? Okay. Red flag number 1, Zords are not more durable more durable than Power Rangers. So, okay, so a Zord has, what, 5 or 6 health by default? That sounds like a lot until you realize that your standard Power Ranger can get 7 to 8 at character creation if you really want to. Just make sure there's like just make sure there's a couple of points in strength and that they all go toward conditioning. So I don't buy that, for one. I don't buy that they're more durable than Zords as a rule. But secondly, he's completely ignoring the fact that Zords take like 6 rounds to show up, right? And this tells me that this guy, or the people that he represents, don't think there's a problem with Zords. And that is a huge problem. It's like they're not realizing that Power Rangers get a bonus to hit giant monsters, that giant monsters take a penalty to hit Power Rangers, and that monsters and Zords are doing 2 damage a shot, and Rangers on the ground are doing 1 damage a shot, admittedly, unless you have a Yellow Ranger and a Red Ranger on your team. Then the Yellow Ranger could be doing up to 3 damage a round, and the Red Ranger could be doing up to 5, depending on his special abilities and what level he's at. Let's assume they're lower level, so he's doing 2 to 3 damage a turn, based on perks and stuff. But Zords, you don't get them to level 3, right? So if you assume level 3 Rangers, there are some special abilities that the Rangers have, like bringing the weapons together. Well, nah, you already know my take on that. That bringing the weapons together is kind of dumb. But my point is this. 6 rounds waiting for the Zords to show up, even if it was 3 rounds waiting for the Zords to show up, every Ranger in the party, if you have a group of 5, I mean, you've done 15 damage if everybody is hit. And even if they haven't, assuming the Yellow Ranger has gotten some solid hits in, he can make up for the fact that other people have missed, right? Like, you have 2 shifts of advantage. Well, not advantage. Yeah, you have 2 shifts to hit these monsters. They're going to be dead before the Zords show up. So, I don't get the impression that Renegade Games is taking the Zord issue seriously. And honestly, I don't think they're going to do anything. Plus, that whole mentioning of monsters down the road doing more damage and having multiple attacks, does that just mean screw all the monsters that already exist? That are already in the book? Like just, oh, well, they're weak, don't use them. Really? That's not game design. That's an excuse. These are excuses. These need to be fixed. Like, what I would like, if Zords isn't in the errata, I think I'm going to riot, and I don't think I'm going to be the only one. But I'll let that go as long as they promise, like, guys, a Zord guide is coming. We realize that the rules are dumb and we're going to redo it. But I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't. Look, if you look at G.I. Joe, G.I. Joe has special vehicle rules. Humans with regular weapons can't significantly hurt a vehicle. They need like a rocket launcher or some kind of missile or some kind of other vehicle. Like, there's a rule in there that says the vehicles can't take damage or can't take as much damage from standard rounds. If you look at Power Rangers, though, they don't have that rule. Like, they're treating Power Rangers as if they are superheroes, which makes sense. They are. But because of that, they don't have all of the game balancing rules that a system like G.I. Joe has. So they can attack things bigger than them for equal damage. I need to do another video on equipment because I learned some things about armor and armor-piercing rounds that just... Spoiler alert, armor-piercing rounds do not help you get through a Ranger's protective shell. That is above and beyond what armor-piercing rounds do. So, no, armor-piercing rounds do not make it easier to hit a Power Ranger. I'll do a better video on that explaining the implications of that, but, I mean, long story short, that's huge. Power Rangers get all of these special rules that, you know, G.I. Joe doesn't get. And I guess that makes sense, but part of Power Rangers, an important part of Power Rangers, is this vehicular combat. they really do expect you to do nothing with the overgrown monster until the Zords show up. But the Zords take so long to get there, and you get all these bonuses for trying to hit a grown monster, that it's almost like, why not try to hit it? And I promise, if you run a game where there's an overgrown monster and you summon the Zords, and your players aren't idiots, they will kill it before the Zords show up. I promise they will kill it before the Zords show up. And if the Zords do get there and they manage to get inside, 1 or 2 rounds and the monster's gone. They're not going to get to the point where they can turn into a Megazord. It's not going to matter. So, without house ruling, and it wouldn't take much. It would not take much. You could just have a house rule that says Power Rangers can't hurt overgrown monsters. Now, that would completely eliminate the need for shifts. Like, oh, you get a shift for hitting something super big. So if you don't want to do that, then just have it have some damage reduction of some kind. Like, maybe every 5 times a monster takes 1 damage. Maybe you have to hit a monster 5 times before it will take 1 damage, right? So if the Pink Ranger hits for 2 damage and the Yellow Ranger hits for 3, then the monster has taken 1 damage, right? Just keep this like tally. Just make the damage less effective. Or maybe multiply the monster's health by 10. So Zords have 60 health and do 20 damage instead of 6 health and doing 2. And in that way, it really would be a waste of time. Well, not a waste of time, but it really would help to have the Zords at that point. Because you'd be doing 10 times the damage, right? And I think that's all it would take. Just that little change. But I don't know. It's a house rule. And the base system really should have accounted for this. It's almost like they expect you to walk into a situation with your Zord already. But if that were the case, why is it so hard to summon them? Why does it take so long? Like, there are abilities in the book that make them come faster, but why? Why? Zords are not as good. The action economy is worse. The damage potential is worse. I just don't understand. You can do so much more on the ground as a ranger, and I'm just hoping that the Errata adds some kind of line to that effect. Something that makes using a Zord worth it. Whether that is, we've changed our minds and Zords come instantly now, or monsters don't take damage from regular Power Ranger attacks, or what I just said about the house rule, 10 times the health, whatever it is. But something needs to change, or everyone in the world who bought the system is just going to have to house rule it. I mean, the DM could just say, or the GM, the Game Master, could just say, no, I'm not going to let you fight the overgrown monster as a ranger. Because the developer in the Discord, he's like, not all Power Ranger teams like the idea of one of their team members getting stepped on. I'm like, why do you think that would happen? Did you read your own system? Do you not realize how hard it is to hit something that small and how inconsequential it is? Say a Zord stepped on a Ranger and did 2 damage, right? And let's be generous. Let's say it was the Ranger's last 2 health, meaning he got hit like 3 other times. You know, if he's like a Red Ranger and prioritized conditioning or something, right? When a Ranger hits 0 hit points, they just turn back into a human with 1 hit point and they're fine. And by then, either the Zords have shown up or that monster is pretty ragged because he's been attacked a whole bunch of times. I just don't think the numbers are in their favor, and it does not give me the warm fuzzies when a company does not appear to be paying attention to the math of their own system. Like, I'll go on a tangent if I go much longer, but companies who don't understand statistics or bell curves or averages really drive me up the wall. Anyway, Errata comes out today. I will definitely be doing some kind of review on it. Please listen to it and help you decide whether or not you're going to buy into the system. Stay tuned for more.